Hey, come here. You like pro wrestling? We got a little something for you. Two fans, 3,000 miles away. We each been watching for more than 30 years. Celebrate the art form, the action, the homoeroticism. We ain't rating matches. We ain't analyzing stories. We ain't experts. We just sit down, shut up, and mark out! Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Sit Down, Shut Up, and Mark Out, a pro wrestling podcast about pro wrestling. I'm Blade Daly, and I'm joined, as always, by the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be, Joshi G. Joshi G, how you doing, friendo?
Yo, I'm doing pretty well, my friend. How are you? Also, guess who's back? Back
yeah,
again.
That's right. That's
Joshi
right.
G's back. Back
I know.
Again. So, yes, I am back after a 1 week absence. And it feels good to be back. I'm really excited to discuss wrestling with you. How have you been, my friend?
Doing pretty good, all things considered. I do want to just say that this week, unfortunately, my grandmother did pass away. I want to just thank everybody who supports the show for the support they showed to me on Threads. We got some emails saying, giving their condolences, and I really appreciate that, everybody. Thank you so much. I feel very lucky to have had such a great grandmother, and I'm happy she's at peace now. So thank you all very much. Hey, just make sure you tell the people you care about that you care, okay? That's the biggest lesson any of us can take from this life. Time is not guaranteed.
Rest in peace, I Blade Daly's grandmother.
Yes, that's correct. I Blade Daly's grandmother, rest in peace. So, in other news, we've got a lot to recap, got a lot to discuss. There's been a lot going on in the world of pro wrestling. And the first question I have for all of you and for us is AEW too violent?
Obviously.
Is it too scary? Does it scare you? Should this be permitted? Has anything ever been this scary in wrestling? Jesus Christ.
I know.
Grow the
Undertaker
fuck up,
almost
you guys.
killed Big Boss, man. Like, relax.
He literally hung him.
He did.
Like, Mick Foley took a fucking header off the top of a fucking Hell in the Cell through a real table, not the shit they have now.
Yeah, and apparently AEW's the most violent thing people have ever seen.
And we're talking about Swerve getting hit over the head with a gimmick chair.
I know.
And look, I'm not saying that has no effect. I don't think we could possibly know for sure whether that has any effect, but like, fucking, you can tell Hangman's holding this thing together, trying to keep the seat from popping out, because it's a gimmick chair. It's shaved way down, and the seat just pops out of it. It's barely held in there, okay?
But what about the syringe?
What about the syringe? Well, it was gross. It was definitely gross, and some people are bothered by needles.
Yes.
So I get it, but guess what? They fucking cut their faces open constantly. Okay? It happens in wrestling all the time.
It's true.
Go watch some ECW, for God's sake. Go watch some fucking old-ass Jim Crockett. Okay? Magnum TA stabbed fucking Tully Blanchard in the head with a piece of a chair.
Exactly.
In an I Quit match. It was also on pay-per-view. It just happens.
And don't you guys ever go to the dentist? I mean, the dentist is in your mouth doing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Messing around
Puts a
there
goddamn needle in your gums.
Yeah. So, I mean, hey, what are you guys scared of? I don't get it. I don't understand how AEW is too violent. It's not.
I do get it if it's not your thing. That particular style is not your thing.
Fair enough.
You know what you can do? Now watch it. You can close your eyes for the moments you don't want to see.
But also, iBlade, some crazy wrestling fans starting a petition about how AEW should be canceled because it's too violent and sharing it with other social media members is really laughable. You know, I mean, if this is not your thing, don't watch it. Okay, but to be like, oh my god, we must cancel this wrestling show because it is so violent. It's like, dude, there are TV shows that are way more violent than AEW, and you probably watched them and love these shows. Like, hello, Game of Thrones, that wasn't violent.
You know what the funny thing is? That was the best kind of promotion that they could possibly give AEW and that they could possibly give WBD. Those guys loved that because people go, oh, this super dangerous wrestling that I've never actually watched before. I should probably see what they're talking about. It makes people curious. The ratings went up this week, by the way, just incidentally. So all these fucking, I said this on Threads, but like the irony of these ex-ECW wrestlers talking about the violence in ECW without a hint of irony is hilarious to me. Okay? Do I want these people to be safe? Yes.
Of course.
Are they adults making these decisions? Yes. They know what's up, okay? So I'm not going to tell adults what they should be allowed to do and not allowed to do, and I'm not going to tell adults who buy pay-per-views what they should be allowed to see and not allowed to see, okay? But get real. Like, violence in wrestling has existed since the beginning of time.
And guess what, wrestling fans? WWE used to have violent matches before they became PG. There were so many violent matches. Oh my god, did you guys try to cancel WWE? I mean, I'm sorry, but it's pathetic, guys. If you don't like violence in wrestling right now, just don't watch, the violent matches. You don't even have to stop watching AEW. Just don't watch the matches that are violent. That's all. It's actually very simple. As soon as Hangman Page and Swerve started at All Out, you should have just shut off your television.
Look,
it's not hard.
Bottom line, anytime there's any discussion about is AEW too violent, it's good for AEW from a marketing perspective, okay? As long as they don't, cross the threshold of, going straight deathmatch, all the time.
Yeah.
Which they're clearly not going to do. They're just showing the influence of things like AEW, of ECW. And I think that's great. That's what I love about AEW is it's kind of a love letter to every subgenre of pro wrestling. And they take stuff from WCW or from Jim Crockett Promotions or from the Attitude Era or from ECW or from New Japan. That's what's so awesome about AEW. It's a little bit of all those things.
And it's just also funny, I believe, Daily, to your point, that some of you cry that you want the Attitude Era back. And then when you get these kind of matches, you cry that they're too violent. Did you actually watch the Attitude Era, guys? Because there was a lot of violence during that era. So if you were okay with that, there's no reason why AEW should be considered too violent. I mean, come on, go back, watch some of those matches, and see for yourself.
Here's the thing. You guys keep circulating shit like that petition, which was hilarious. Okay? You keep giving AEW the free promotion and free attention that all of this discourse generated this week because that's exactly what they wanted you to do. Tony's not stupid. He knew that was coming. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for wasting your breath promoting AEW to a new audience who may not have checked it out yet because apparently some of them tuned in this week for Dynamite. So, whew, good stuff. Let's get into it, Joshi. We had a little event called All Out.
2 weeks after All In.
2 weeks after All In. I said it on Threads. All In was Nevermind. All Out was In Utero. All In was the big, glowy, glittery spectacle that made you feel good inside. All Out was that more experimental and very dark thing that challenged you as a viewer. But ultimately might have been a little more satisfying in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fantastic show.
It was.
As somebody who, I am no fan of deathmatch wrestling, okay? I am no fan of gore, all right? I have a pretty weak stomach. I don't like watching horror movies all that much, okay? But this was just the right amount, if you ask me. And it wasn't all of it, but we're not going to review the whole show. There's already been plenty of that. Let's talk about some of the bigger moments, Joshi. Show kicks off with MJF versus Daniel Garcia. This was the only match I incorrectly predicted of the entire show. And it was because I chose with my heart and not my head. Rumors have been swirling that Mr. Garcia has not re-signed with AEW as of yet. I picked him to win simply because I thought maybe some of the contract stuff was kayfabe. He lost in a very, very close match, very good match. Lots of heat in this one, lots of snot in this one as well. There was a lot of body fluid going around in this one. MJF spitting in Daniel's face. Daniel spitting in MJF's face. There was one point where MJF had a giant loogie on his face. Daniel was bleeding. There was one point where snot was coming out of his nose and there's blood in it. It was pretty gross. But very, very good match. MJF with the low blow barely sneaks out a win. Garcia then retorts by pile driving the living fuck out of MJF off the top, off the second turnbuckle. What'd you think, Joshi?
I thought it was a great match. I like that MJF cheated to win, and I love the aftermath. I'm glad that Garcia got his revenge. Initially, I thought that Garcia was going to beat MJF, but then I thought, oh, maybe MJF will beat Garcia, and then there'll be a rematch down the line, but I wasn't 100% sure. I will say this, though. They did make the right decision because if Danny hasn't signed a new contract, he shouldn't be getting a huge win like that. Like, if he does resign, then yes, I would absolutely have him face MJF again and pick up the win. But when a talent is not sure if they're staying or going, you can't make them beat like one of your top stars. And no. I feel like the aftermath was a really big moment for him. So if he does leave, it's one of those things where, hey, okay, he got some revenge on MJF and that's great. If he chooses to stay, we get a rematch and he beats MJF and they continue pushing him. So I think this was the safest way to do it. I hope he stays, but you never know. And I thought it was a great opening match. They made the right decision. I like that it was placed first.
Yeah, in the midst of these signing dramas that kind of have unfolded recently with, there's speculation about Ricky Starks. There's speculation, it seems pretty evident the Lucha Bros are goners. And Daniel Garcia. Look, I love all those performers, okay? I'm a Ricky Starks fan. Does it make or break AEW for me? Not at all. Okay. Probably the biggest one for me is the Lucha Bros.
Yeah.
But when they're not there, I don't really notice that much. Okay. And look, I love Daniel Garcia. I think he's great. I hope he stays in AEW. But if he doesn't, they can fill that void very easily. Okay. So we'll see what happens with Daniel Garcia. But if this was his last hurrah in AEW, he did a great job. Had a big moment. This was a classy way to say goodbye and a classy thing of AEW to do if he's not sticking around. So we'll see where it goes from here, but I thought it was a great match. Next, we had the BCC, Wheeler Yuta and Claudio Castagnoli versus the Bucks. Joshi, your thoughts?
I really liked this match, and I thought it was great that the Bucks finally faced new challengers. And what I mean by that is that it was becoming so redundant. Bucks versus FTR, Bucks versus Acclaim. Finally, they wrestled two singles wrestlers that decided to be a tag team that night. At first, I thought, oh no, they're just putting two singles wrestlers together. But actually, I think that match proved that the Young Bucks are motivated and that there is so much more that they can do as tag champs, but they need to defend those titles more often. And it can't always be against the same teams. Like that was getting so old. So, I was very impressed, with the match, and it was very evident that the Bucks were going to win. But when that match ended, I felt really good about the tag team division, and it just made me feel. It reassured me in a sense where, yes, the Bucks are going to defend those titles regularly, and that's a good thing. They weren't for a while. That was personally getting on my nerves, but I feel ever since All In, and with Grand Slam coming, we've seen that they've been in more matches and they will continue to be, and that's very important. We want this tag team division to be huge like it was in the beginning of AEW. So I liked it. What about you, iBlade? What'd you think?
I loved it. I thought it was a great match. I did not like the way it was put together, where it was just kind of Claudio's like, well, I have nothing to do and All Out,
Yeah.
and neither does Yuta. Why don't we challenge you guys? Not a big fan of that, but I will say this was probably the best match of their tag title reign.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
When people shit talk the Young Bucks, it just mind blowing to me, because they are absolutely one of the very best in-ring tag teams of all time. Now, I will say the Bucks, they had this awesome program when Jack Perry came back with Tony and all of that. I thought it was so good. And then it just fizzled because they weren't on TV for a while. The tag titles have felt like they were in limbo on the Bucks. And then they've been in these matches with like the Acclaimed and FTR at All In, where, they weren't going at full speed. I will give it the critics that. But the Bucks worked hard in this match. They looked great. The Bucks are amazing. I don't care. Throw your hate at them, whatever. They are incredible. Your tears are like candy to the Young Bucks, as they've proven time and time again. Very excited to see where they go from here, because the Bucks are fantastic. And they worked hard in this. Claudio and Wheeler were great. Claudio specifically was man-possessed. But the Bucks get a great win by the skin of their teeth. Kind of a shock pin on Wheeler Yuta. Very, very good stuff. Next, we had the 5.5 star.
Oh, man.
As far as in-ring goes, it was match of the night, no question.
Yes, it was.
You had two almost perfect wrestlers going toe-to-toe. I rewatched this match by itself last night, so it'd be fresh in my mind. Pac, the bastard, versus Will Ospreay. What can you even say? Unfucking believable. Joshi, say something.
Yeah, it was a classic match, and don't hate me for this, I Blade Daily. I like Ospreay a lot, but Pac has a piece of my heart. That's been the case for many years, and I think Pac is as good as Ospreay. I really do, and he's amazing on the mic. Obviously, his physique is very unique and impressive, and so I love Ospreay a lot, but I'm a little bit more of a Pac fan.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
Yes, I've just always loved Pac. Always, like my husband as well. He is more of a Pac guy. I you know what it is? It might be that amazing Geordie accent of his. I don't know, but he is so freaking cool. And it was just really nice to see these two guys face off in the ring, wrestle each other. And I thought Pac looked just as good as Ospreay in every possible way. It was legendary. I would love to see a rematch down the line. And I'm not surprised that it got 5.5 stars. That was one of the best matches of the year. Definitely match of the night, as you said, when you look at the in-ring quality aspect. And yeah, like, as you said, what else is there to say? These are two of the best in the world. Two Brits England, I gotta say, man, you have a lot of great freaking wrestlers. And yeah, it was really nice to see Pac in a match like that. Really huge match for him, obviously, especially after winning the trios belts with Yuta and Claudio like 2 weeks prior.
Right.
It was just, it was just, he deserves it. He deserves everything. And I would love to see him become some kind of singles champion again in the future.
I think we will. And I will say this year, 2024, has felt like a relaunch for Pac, where, he had that incredible match at Dynasty with Okada. He has been on the shows a lot more consistently than he had been up until now. I honestly think him breaking out of Death Triangle is going to be a really big deal for him.
Me too.
I think it was kind of an anchor on him, and we didn't even see it at the time. Because look, hey, Pac with fucking Phoenix and Penta, that's I'm never going to complain about that. But they were kind of rudderless. They were directionless. They weren't really going anywhere. And they were a holdover from that original, very stable, heavy AEW, where most, it's like the Nightmare Family's not around anymore. Most of those factions have broken up. And, the Dark Order isn't a big deal anymore, so I think it's been good for Pac to break away from that. And even if it comes at the cost of the Lucha Bros. That match was followed up by, just a kind of whatever match between Willow and Chris Statlander, just having this like Chicago street fight that absolutely fucking ruled.
Yeah.
It was as good as anything else on the show, except for maybe that Pac and Ospreay match, but it was so good. Holy shit, Joshi. Look, I'm a huge Willow fan and a huge Statlander fan. I knew they were going to tear it up because I know they're really good friends. But this went so above and beyond my expectations. We had talked weeks ago about that Ring of Honor, same thing, Diamante and Layla Hirsch having that incredible, no DQ match, I believe it was. And this blew that out of the water, in my opinion. And no disrespect to Diamante and Layla Hirsch. This was just outstanding.
It was terrific. One of the best women's matches of the year. Meltzer said it was the best North American women's match this year. And I can't say that I disagree with him. The thing about Chris and Willow is that they are both exceptionally good.
Yes.
And what's really interesting about them is that I feel with Chris, ever since she signed with AEW, it was very apparent that she was a phenomenal athlete. As for Willow, she, when she signed, she was very likable, and good. But I would say the past year or so, huge development. You look at last year, and she had an amazing match with Athena. One of my favorite women's matches from last year. You look at this year, her match with Mercedes was incredible. Her match with Chris at All Out was incredible. These two are amazing. And I think, you know what? Putting on a match like that right after Pac and Ospreay and having the fans invested in your match the way they were is very telling. These two are simply two of the best, and iBlade, we were saying a few weeks ago that we felt their rivalry was becoming a little bit stale. And I feel this match at All Out reignited their rivalry, and if they do continue with this feud, I'm okay with that, because this was the match that needed to bring that spark back. I just have so much love for both of these ladies. I was really happy with the result, of course. I do think that Chris needed to win this one.
Yes.
But it's just, props to the woman, man. Especially these two. They've just been so consistently good in the ring. They never have a bad match. I just love both of these ladies. Good job.
Absolutely. Yeah. I thought, and I liked the booking too, where it was like, look, both of them were crazy. Both of them were tough.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really a matter of who was tougher. It was a matter of who caught who. And Chris just caught Willow, and Willow got caught. Anybody can catch anybody in wrestling, right? That's the idea. Could have gone either way, and one of my very favorite matches of the show. I've watched it twice. Man, super, super good. Super good. We're going to skip ahead a little bit because we're kind of talking about the highlights. Joshi, you wanted to kind of talk about Shida and Mercedes. I think we both agree this wasn't the match we were hoping for.
Yeah, so it is disappointing that they didn't have a great match.
Mm-hmm.
I was very excited for this one, especially because their first match was quite good. So I expected it to be a better version of that match, and unfortunately that wasn't the case.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that it was bad. I would say the first part of it was quite strong.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what the heck happened. There were issues with Mercedes' wig and some miscommunication, and the three katanas just did not work well. Clearly,
Mercedes kicked out on one.
Yeah, she kicked out.
And then
I feel like she was supposed to catch one. I don't know what in the world happened there, but I feel after that point, the match just fell apart a little bit. And I just think it's a shame because Mercedes is a terrific wrestler. Shida is as well. And when you put these two in a match together, you expect a match as good as Chris and Willow, to be honest, or as at least close enough to that. And that's not what we got. And, Mercedes is the highest paid women's wrestler in AEW right now. I think it's very unfortunate
right now.
In the world. Yes. I think it's very unfortunate that her match at All In was considered bad and her match at All Out was considered bad. I think having two, I didn't think they were bad, but that's just what the general consensus is. I think having two matches like that on a pay-per-view in a row is not good. So I think that, if she faces Shida again, rehearse as much as possible before the match. Get your wig figured out. I mean, if, test it out before you have a match like that. This was a huge match. And I just think it's unfortunate that the last match that people were, going crazy over, with Mercedes was really her match with Willow at Double or Nothing. I mean, yes, there were fans that liked her match with Stephanie at Forbidden Door, but there was a lot of criticism about Mercedes wrestling in that match, which I thought was stupid. But I just think that they need to figure something out. I don't know what went wrong, but I don't think Mercedes can have another match that's considered bad on a pay-per-view at this point.
Well, I think, yes. I think, look, anybody can have a bad night, right? And I thought Shida and Mercedes just had a bad night. Not that it really wasn't a bad match. The botch on the katana really took me out of it because I'm like, what the hell just happened? She just no-sold 3 katanas and then kind of ran around the side of the ring and you're supposed to be dead right now, the fact that you would even kick out at all, but to kick out at one, that was what the hell's going on here? And yeah, the wig thing, that happened in the match with Britt too. And it, she's constantly holding her wig on and it's dude, you got to figure this out. Cause she's always worn wigs. I mean, it's not like she had, fucking Smurf blue hair when she was Sasha Banks either, so it didn't seem like a problem is what I'm saying. And so I'm not sure what's been going on, but that needs to get worked out. But still, it was fine. I actually thought their first match on Dynamite was better than this.
It was definitely
unfortunately.
Better. Yeah, it is unfortunate.
We know they have it in them. It was just an unfortunate low point of the night. We also had Danielson having a very, very good match with Jack Perry.
Yeah.
Jack, man, did he look like a main eventer in this or what? He looked great. He and Danielson have very good chemistry. And I thought Jack sold so well. His character is really, really over. And, anybody who wants to criticize them showing that footage of the all in stuff from last year of him and Punk, you can't really criticize it at this point because look at Jack Perry. Look at how he's doing. He had a great match with Danielson. Danielson beats him. At the end of the match, they tease the cash in by Christian Cage with the patriarchy. Jon Moxley comes and gets in front of them and looks like he's going to be the sole guy standing in between. For a minute, I thought maybe Mox would step aside and let them cash in on Danielson. And then Pac and Yuta and Claudio show up and something feels a little weird. Something feels a little weird. And then Mox and Danielson hug, and Mox kisses him on the forehead, which is not really Moxley's usual style either. And then they all raise Danielson's hand, and Claudio's got his left arm, and Mox puts it down. The BCC has their what turns out to be the final moment in the ring. Pac is down at ringside, and you're like, oh wow, Pac's in the BCC now. And then Claudio fucking hammers Danielson with a fucking uppercut. Danielson falls to his ass. All of a sudden, Pac is bear hugging Wheeler Yuta and keeping him from getting any closer. And fucking Jon Moxley puts a goddamn plastic bag over his head, over Danielson's head, and starts suffocating him. And it goes on for quite a while.
Yeah.
Do you think Jon Moxley has I bet you this guy had a preferred brand of plastic bag. This guy knows which plastic bags are good for suffocating. Like he probably picked out just the right one. Marina Shafir's all of a sudden around. Danielson gets suffocated. Wheeler Yuta is crying. And he's crying out to Danielson. And he's trying, but Pac's holding him back. What the actual fuck? Joshi G, what the fuck?
I thought it was brilliantly done. Did not see that coming. I had a feeling that obviously Moxley was turning heel.
Yes.
And everyone online, they all asked the same question. Well, is Moxley a part of BCC or not? Guys, you need to be patient. You got your answer at All Out. He had a plan. So I thought it was awesome. No, Danielson is not dead. Moxley did not try to actually kill him. There was definitely a hole in the bag. Just calm down. But what I'm left wondering is, look at it this way, right? So Danielson's out. Wheeler's probably going to be out. That's my guess. I could be wrong. So that means that they've replaced two former members with Marina and Pac, which is cool. I'm totally fine with it. Do you think they keep the name BCC or they change it?
I don't know. Especially after Moxley's promo on Dynamite, which really blurred the lines.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that. But I think this is one of the better heel turns of all time. Just the way they set it up, it had so much preparation to it. And man, I was loving it. I thought that Yuta not being in the know was very, very cool and very interesting. I think Danielson is determined to get Yuta over on a bigger level. I thought, very interestingly, after it was done, Claudio shoved Wheeler. Like, they had just been tag partners earlier in the night.
What happened there?
The minute Pac releases Yuta just rushes over to be with Danielson, and they carry him out. They're giving him oxygen. There was man, this was brutal. It was very, very serious shit. And after that happened, I was like, wow, Hanger and Swerve really got their work cut out for him.
They sure did.
That was a stupid thing to think, because, man, these boys came out and did some damage.
Oh, my gosh. What a match.
What the fuck?
So good. So good, though, that main event.
My God. Okay, so I don't give a shit about star ratings, all right? Like, they mean nothing to me, okay? Like, whatever Dave Meltzer thinks, I'll talk about him as a point of interest, but, like, he rated this match 4.5 stars. I get it, okay? I get it. This match was about so much more than just a match, okay? It was about 10 times more than that. But it was a very, very good cage match. These guys lit each other the fuck up right from the get-go. They're holding each other's heads down, trying to get the fucking cage to fucking crush or decapitate the other one.
Prince Nana had to push them away.
Yeah. Nana pushed him in the ring like, okay, kill him, but don't get yourself killed at the same time. Nana is screaming at Hangman the entire time. Nana hates this motherfucker now. It's very personal for him, too, because he was the one, he keeps saying, you want to mess with somebody's property? You want to play games with somebody's property? Like, fucking property. You went too far for Prince Nana. These guys beat the fuck out of each other. The whole match, there was no lulls, okay? Hangman busts Swerve open with some barbed wire that he brought to the ring. I loved how he came out flanked by security. Swerve came out flanked by security. Swerve's wearing gear with the house burning and Hangman sitting in front of it on his gear. I thought that was awesome. Swerve's wearing the white gear, so there's going to be a lot of blood. And the match is just badass but like it goes to this next level. They bring out a fucking cinder block. Holy shit. They brought out, and Swerve stomps on the cinder block to show you this is a real cinder block.
Yeah.
Okay. And Swerve proceeds to give Hangman an air raid crash. I think that's what it was, or I think it was an air raid crash.
I believe so, yeah.
On the cinder block. People said, oh, he missed it. He missed the cinder block. No, he grazed it, so Hangman would still live through the spots.
Well, yeah, you don't want the guy to get seriously injured. Come on, no.
Like, break his back.
No, that's reckless.
But you immediately see the scrapes on Hangman's back. It's a serious... He got him good, okay?
He did. Hey.
Later in the match, Hangman powerbomb Swerve on the fucking cinder block, like directly on top of it. This was an insane match that it also featured a Swerve stomp through a table from the second turnbuckle. This was just crazy shit. Hangman powerbombed Swerve off the top rope. This was crazy. Crazy, mad shit. And eventually Hangman, again, this is like the Statlander Willow thing, Hangman just caught Swerve. It wasn't for a lack of wanting. Hangman wasn't tougher than Swerve. Hangman just caught him. And fucking has a chair. Swerve is on his knees. Swerve is totally gassed. And Hangman brings the chair down on him. It's a gimmick chair, guys. Okay? It's shaved down. The seat's made to pop out. But he plants this thing over Swerve's head. The ref calls for the bell. And it felt like the crowd just gasped.
Yeah.
And then was extremely deflated. Hangman's music plays. And this is actually the best part of the entire match to me. So the ref calls for the bell. Hangman keeps moving towards Swerve. Like, he doesn't know how not to want to kill this guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, your job's done. You killed him. Like, it's over. And Hangman doesn't know how to have this be over. And he stands up on the top and he puts his arm up and the crowd is kind of quiet. They almost don't know what to do. And you see in both the crowd and in Hangman, this emptiness take over. And Hangman, his lip is quivering as he's walking up the ramp. And you kind of see, like, he wants to go back down the ramp at some point, and then he's stopped. And did he want to go back to inflict more punishment, or did he want to go back to check on Swerve? You see that the goodness in this man is still there, but what has he become? And at the very end of the show, he lets out this primal rage that he's just been holding on to, where he's like embracing the beast within. This was like a fucking award-winning movie. I mean, when people call wrestling cinema, I usually laugh. No, this was like a fucking movie. These men made a masterpiece. Joshi, please.
I mean, what is there to say? I like violence. No, but really, this has been, and no offense to Hangman Kenny Omega rivalry, because it still is one of my favorite rivalries ever. But Hangman Adam Page, Swerve Strickland has been the best rivalry in AEW. I don't think anything else touches it at this point. That match was absolutely incredible. Again, I'm the type of person that likes violence in wrestling. And I thought everything that they did in that match made you feel something. You felt the hate they have towards each other. And it's just remarkable to me when you look at, the progression of this feud. At the start of it, Hangman Page was clearly the babyface. Swerve was the heel. Swerve was the one behaving like a jerk and crossing lines. And we, the fans, we decided to cheer for Swerve. We supported Swerve. We kind of turned our backs on Hangman Adam Page. And it's just like, it's so interesting because when Swerve did eventually turn a babyface, all wasn't forgiven, okay?
No.
Which I think is amazing. Because also, like most of the time, you see this crap in wrestling, and I don't really like it, where these two wrestlers have a lot of beef, and then the heel turns babyface and everything is fine. They're absolved of everything. I don't like that. This has not been the case. Regardless that Swerve became a babyface, Hangman still hated him. And he wanted revenge, and for good reason. Like, if somebody broke into my house and, got close to my baby, I'd be furious, I just feel they've done this excellent job at showing that Swerve is not a good person. There is some good in him, but he did things that were really bad. And Hangman is justified in feeling the way he does. Did Hangman go too far? I mean, yeah, sure, right? But you kind of put yourself in Hangman's shoes, and it's like, yeah, he broke into a home. He messed around with my baby, man. Like, these are things to legitimately be pissed off about. So yeah, like, just the progression has been amazing to see them switch roles. Hangman Page last week on Dynamite, burning down Swerve's childhood home.
Yeah.
Sitting in his chair, drinking bourbon or whatever it was. That image stayed with me for so long because it was so beautifully done. And Swerve's reaction, crying and devastated, like feeling like a broken man. I just, and All Out too, like you said, when Swerve came out and he had his house being burned down all over his gear, all these like little details.
Yeah.
And after the match, Hangman contemplating walking back to the ring. It's like, dude, don't you think you did enough? Like, what else do you want to do to this guy? And actually, I Blade Daily, my friend told me that someone online that was in attendance, they posted a video that obviously we didn't get to see because the show had ended, where Hangman's contemplating walking through, the babyface tunnel, and he laughs and walks through the heel tunnel.
Yeah.
Which I didn't get to see that. So I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. Just such an amazing rivalry, I Blade. And honestly, in some ways, it does remind me of Brett and Austin. Like you look at their rivalry where, Brett was the babyface, Austin was the heel. Then you get this WrestleMania 13 match, one of my favorite matches ever. and the audience chooses Austin. That's their guy, and they have to switch roles, and we're seeing that again. And I've heard fans compare so many wrestlers to Stone Cold Steve Austin, okay? But in this case, Swerve is the one that reminds me the most of him.
I've been saying it since their match last year. Since the Texas Death Match.
Yeah.
There's super Stone Cold Brett vibes to this whole thing.
It's amazing. And even that's what I love about AEW. Even as a babyface, Swerve still does things that are a little bit not very babyface like Austin would do. And it's just amazing to see. I love the match so much. I love these two so much.
Yeah.
These two, not only are they two of the best wrestlers ever, two of the best characters I have ever seen in professional wrestling. Tony, thank you so much for signing Swerve. One of the best AEW signings ever. Mm-hmm. Ever. Even if someone were to say Swerve was the best AEW signing to this day, I would not argue with you. Not only is he tremendous in every possible way, he is a great ambassador for the freaking company, and Hangman Page has been basically their hidden gem, their hidden treasure since day one. I know I'm talking a lot, but I just have so much love for these two. And man, I don't know. I wish I could just write to both of them and be like, thank you so much for making wrestling feel so real, because most of the time it doesn't, Blade. It doesn't feel real. Of
course not, yeah. Yeah, no, and then I think that is almost why there's two parts to this. I think it's almost why people were asking if wrestling's too violent, because they made it feel so real. And then secondarily, some discussion I was having on Threads with a few people is, look, the violence in this case actually enhanced the story. And it did with Danielson as well, which is they had to take this to a whole new level to show the depth of that hatred, to show how hollowed out Hangman has become inside, to show that he will stoop to literally any level of violence to make his point to Swerve and to validate himself. And now that he has, what has he become? And I think that is so, so, so important. So that was all out. Let's quickly go through Dynamite on the follow-up. Really, the big thread in this show was the Moxley stuff and the follow-up to the Moxley stuff. And this is why I said his promo at the very beginning of the show really threw me for a loop, because he talks about his lordship quite a lot in this promo. He says, he said you were the perfect wrestler, but he said that that Moxley was just like Regal. And that he said, guys like you and me can't pretend we're anything but what we are, and that diplomacy has failed, Brian. I choose war. And then at some point in a fake trios match that never actually happens, Moxley calls out Darby Allin. Pac says, this is our company now. We're taking over. And later on in the night, when Darby finally makes himself known, Moxley says, look, you're supposed to have the world title shot against Danielson at Grand Slam in a couple weeks. I'm going to need you to give that to me. And Darby cut a very good promo on Mox. He said, no, I'm not going to give it to you. You used to be a guy that I looked up to. And what I liked was that finally in this promo, Moxley reveals that he is a heel, because he says, this business has become, this place has become all about egos, but then calls himself the king. Okay. So it's like, you're full of shit, right? Like, he's clearly got quite an ego himself, and Darby, kind of puts him in his place. And so they're going to fight for Darby's title shot that he won as a result of the Casino Battle Royal that they had a couple months back in July. So that gets announced. Moxley versus Darby. The winner gets the title shot that Darby has already won. Interesting development. I didn't know if Moxley was going to ask Darby to join them. I didn't know what was going to happen. But they are going to fight for that title shot at Grand Slam. Meanwhile, Nigel McGuinness shows up in a backstage segment where Christopher Daniels is being interviewed and says, I need to talk to you right now. They disappear. Nigel appears on camera just a little while later and says, Tony Khan is a smart man. He knows a money match when he sees it. And at Grand Slam, if that coward, Bryan Danielson, has it in him, he's going to wrestle me for the AEW World title. And what I liked about this promo, Joshi, was that Nigel spells it all out. He says, I've had to watch Bryan Danielson have all the success as I've sat on the sidelines and been forgotten. He reveals the pettiness and the jealousy. He doesn't hide from it. He doesn't pretend it's not there. He fully admits he's petty and jealous. And so we're going to get Bryan Danielson versus Nigel fucking McGuinness at Grand Slam. Joshi, unbelievable moment.
Okay, so I have a few comments, I believe. First off, I'm really stoked for this match. I love Bryan Danielson. I love Nigel McGuinness. And I believe it's going to be their, how many years now? Some kind of anniversary since their last ROH
15
match.
years, probably.
15 years, right? 15-year anniversary since their last ROH match. I think it's freaking awesome that Nigel can wrestle Bryan Danielson again. I mean, I didn't think we would ever see Nigel wrestle again. And the fact that not only did he wrestle at All In, but he's going to wrestle Bryan Danielson is awesome. I mean, if you guys aren't familiar with their rivalry in ROH, I highly recommend that you check it out. The only thing that I feel is throwing fans off, and I can't say that I blame them. In terms of the world title scene right now, there's a little bit too much going on. So first you had Christian Cage, and he had won the Casino Gauntlet match at All In. So he gets to wrestle Danielson at some point.
And it very much like Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank. Then you had Darby Allin. So he gets a title shot. And we thought it was going to happen at Grand Slam. That's clearly not the case anymore. And instead, we're getting Danielson Nigel. Now, of course, hey, I'm really stoked for Nigel Danielson. Are you kidding me? But I feel maybe because Danielson's time as a full-time wrestler is coming to an end soon, they came up with too many ideas. You know what I mean?
It might be too cute by half. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like, and I have a whole thing about this that I'm going to get to, but Nigel, Darby, Mox, and Christian are all potential people who could take this belt off Danielson. And some are more likely than others. But I think they've muddled things a little bit. And I really didn't like that Moxley literally said Danielson's not going to be there.
Me neither.
And then later in the same show, Nigel challenges him to a match. And then there's this big asterisk even on the graphic that says if Danielson is cleared. Obviously, he's going to be cleared. Okay? Like, they didn't want to announce this match if there was any chance Danielson wasn't going to make it. Okay? That's their main event for Grand Slam. I also don't like how close WrestleDream, and maybe this is me being selfish, I don't like how close WrestleDream and Grand Slam are. Because you just get out of All Out, then 2 weeks from that, you have Grand Slam, then 2 weeks from that, you have WrestleDream, and what are they going to announce for WrestleDream before Grand Slam? Last year, they at least announced Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr., but they have nothing right now, and they need to sell a bunch of tickets. The Tacoma Dome is big. Okay, that's a big venue. It's bigger than than Climate Pledge Arena, and they didn't sell that out last year, announcing Zack Sabre versus Danielson ahead of time. So it's muddled. It's muddled right now, and I agree with you. Seems like there's maybe just a little too much going on, and we will get to that. We will get to that. But let's get through the rest of Dynamite here. Don Callis finally cashed in the favor that he wanted that he told Will Ospreay he'd need from him. he told, he comes up with Kyle Fletcher and Konosuke Takeshita and asks Will Ospreay to team with Kyle Fletcher. It makes perfect sense because Will Ospreay's won every gauntlet match he's ever been in. That makes perfect sense. I get it.
Yeah, that's logical.
Ospreay's like, mate, I can't do it, mate. I've got a lot on my plate right now. I've got this international title on my plate, which is very valid. Very valid. And this continues the streak of people who already have titles competing for other titles, which I have not enjoyed. That's not been my favorite part. But Kyle kind of lays it on, and Cal has said, hey, you promised me a favor. This is the favor. And Kyle kind of lays it on enough so that Ospreay feels indebted to both of them and decides he'll do it. And I'm pretty sure you noticed this too. Castro looks kind of pissed that he wasn't even considered for this.
He did.
So is Konosuke Takeshita kind of getting over being a part of this Callis family? Who knows?
I think he might be. But you know what? I'll get into this now since this leads to our next point. So we had Okada backstage, and then we had Don Callis and Takeshita approach him, and they teased a Takeshita Okada match. And my feeling is that it's going to happen probably at WrestleDream. I will say this though: Takeshita has to beat Okada. There is no one else that should beat Okada right now. This is the guy that needs to beat him because A, he's a freaking star. He's massive. He's amazing in every possible way. And 2, he was the highlight of the G1. I haven't even watched it, but that's what I've been hearing. So now is the time. Yeah, now is the time to put a belt on Takeshita. So that's my guess, and holy crap, that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that Takeshita and Okada looks like very likely for WrestleDream. As somebody going to WrestleDream, I am very, 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 very excited about that. That's a dream match. We've never seen a straight one-on-one match with Takeshita and Okada, but you saw the reaction every time those guys were in the ring together at All Out. The crowd went fucking nuts, and we will certainly go nuts if we get Takeshita and Okada in the ring one-on-one at WrestleDream. Let's hope it happens. Ricochet and Sammy had a very fun match. Sammy Guevara.
It was really good, actually.
Really good match. These guys are, this is one of those matches where, you hear Ricochet's coming to AEW. You may not think of this one first, but this is a fucking dream match, really. And they had a really good first encounter. They left a lot on the table, too. And I could see a lot more happen, but something really cool happened after the match, too. We got the Dark Daddy running in, attacking Ricochet. What do you think is that as a potential match for WrestleDream?
Holy crap. Oh, I think that would be amazing. And
could be Grand Slam, could be WrestleDream, could be one or the other.
I know. It could be any time, and I can't freaking wait for it, man. Especially because last week, and I think I had this conversation with you where we were saying that when Ricochet wrestled Fletcher last week or 2 weeks ago on Dynamite, we kind of felt like Ricochet had a bit of a hard time, keeping up. And that's not his fault. I mean, the WWE style is very different.
He looked a little gassed. Yeah.
He looked a little gassed. But this week on Dynamite, that's the Ricochet I remember. He went full speed. He looked awesome. So imagine the match he's going to have with Beast Martos. Holy crap. I am stoked.
It's going to be fantastic. I mean, you just know it's going to be. I just love that Mordos has put himself so firmly on the radar that he's on Dynamite almost every week in some form or fashion. And he's been on most collisions too. I mean, he is becoming a workhorse for Tony. He's a go-to guy. But would love to see him in a singles match with Ricochet on a pay-per-view. Holy crap. Hangman Page shows up again, has an interview with Renee Paquette, and it's kind of a calm interview, except he says, that he is going to punish anyone who got in his way of getting to Swerve. Does that mean he's still feuding with Swerve actively? Or is he just trying to get his vengeance on everybody who got in his way? Not clear. Great promo from the Hanger. He steps away from Renee and she looks like she's about to throw it back to the announcers. And then she's like, hey, what the hell, Hangman? And he's just beating up on random people. Meanwhile, Top Flight is just standing around looking at him beating up people. Then Jeff Jarrett comes and gets in his face and is like, you're going to pay for putting your hands on my wife. Hanger starts beating, it gives Jeff a pretty stiff fucking shot. Jeff gives a receipt. They start beating the crap out of each other. Top Flight and the other people backstage are just like, yeah, nope, don't want any part of this. It's the refs and these other security people who have to break them up. But it looks like we're getting something with Jeff Jarrett and Hangman coming down the pike pretty quick. And then the true badass of this situation, Karen Jarrett, shows up and has to help parting Hangman and Jeff Jarrett. But she's not afraid to get in the mix. These Top Flight fellas, they didn't want any smoke. Stayed back. We also got a match with Mariah May and Queen Aminata. A lot of people seem to have forgotten that Queen Aminata was Mariah May's first opponent in AEW.
Yep.
And very similar to the Action Andretti Jericho match, Aminata didn't get an entrance in that first match. She got dominated in the beginning, and then it became a 50-50 battle. And that was where Aminata put herself on the map with me, where it was like, oh, shit, I love both of these two. I loved Mariah May, but I wanted to see more of Aminata as well. They have a great match, really hard-hitting, before Mariah puts Aminata down clean. And just, I want to see them fight a lot more. They have great chemistry. What do you think, Joshi?
I want to see these two in a long-term feud because their wrestling styles are very similar. They both hit very hard, I find. Very stiff competitors, which is great. I love that kind of thing. And so far, they've had 2 matches together. I loved both. I just think there's a lot more that these two can do together. I mean, even their character work is very good. And Aminata is such a likable babyface. With Mariah as a heel right now, it makes perfect sense. I really want them to make this into a bigger deal at some point. Like, I think Aminata would be an amazing number 1 contender for the women's title.
I agree with you. And I think it'll happen. I am getting the vibe that maybe Toni Storm and Mariah are not done.
That's my impression, too.
I think they're kind of trying to figure out how to get Mariah back to Toni. And that'll happen eventually, but probably at Grand Slam in Australia. I think they're going to try to find a way to put it off till then. Meanwhile, after this match, Mariah says, I haven't had my women's champion celebration yet. Something's missing. Someone is missing. Mina Shirakawa. And I'm like jumping out of my chair. I think I took my shirt off. I cried a little bit because it made me so happy to think of Mina coming back to our televisions.
Beautiful Mina.
Just so charismatic, so funny, so gorgeous, so athletic, so incredible in every way. Love Mina Shirakawa. One of my favorites already. Do you think Mariah's going to turn on Mina?
I think there's a strong possibility that might happen. I don't know if I see Mina turning heel because it's Stardom right now. She's a babyface. It wouldn't make sense for her to turn heel in AEW. I think, you know what? I think Mariah turns on her and we might get Mina Mariah very soon.
I think, yes. So my prediction is Mina comes back either next week on Dynamite or at Grand Slam. They have an in-ring segment. They're doing the tribute, and then Mariah turns. Because, look, they're building up Mariah as this detestable sociopath who, like, kind of doesn't care about anyone. And if you want to make her, like, full-fledged, just like there's no going back, have her turn on Mina.
Yeah, I agree.
Because if you put Mina with her, they're going to get cheered. You know what I mean? And so I could see Mina and Mariah happening at WrestleDream. I think that's a very real possibility. with Mariah going over most likely. But that's something to look forward to. That's very exciting. Very quickly, the Learning Tree came out. Jericho was wearing his jacket that Orange Cassidy ruined all those years ago. They reveal that Orange Cassidy has a picture of best friends in his backpack, and that Jericho searched for the $7,000 and it wasn't in the backpack. Jericho very conveniently introduced his brand new Bentley on the show earlier in the night. Surprise, surprise. We all know something's happening in that car. But Jericho's in the ring, talking about, there are no friends. Your best friends weren't really your friends. Anybody who tells you there's friends in the wrestling business are wrong. If somebody says they're your friends, you're probably being used. And then shows Big Bill giving Jericho kind of the side eye, like, what do you mean? What the hell does that mean?
So they're not friends?
Yeah, exactly. Brian Keith doesn't seem so quick on the uptake. He didn't seem to catch on, but Big Bill sure looked like he was. Flash to Orange Cassidy, who says he only has some change for Jericho. Then the silliest shot of the night, which is Kyle O'Reilly wearing a construction helmet and construction clothes, and Mark Briscoe wearing the same with a dump, like a forklift load. Not a forklift, what the fuck? Like a tractor load of change that they drop on Jericho's brand new Bentley. They said, I've got the $7,000 for you in change. And they drop it on Jericho's brand new car. Jericho's freaking out. Blah, blah, blah. Get to the end. The tag gauntlet, the Young Bucks. Whoever wins this tag gauntlet is challenging the Young Bucks at Grand Slam. I had a feeling I knew who was going to win this one.
Oh, me too.
I was right. You kind of have to be dense not to know.
Yeah, backstage tease.
Yes. Long story short, Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher win this match. Special shout out. The Outrunners got a massive pop when they came out.
They did. They're over.
They got a huge pop. A lot of people wanted the Outrunners to win. Other teams that were in this match, the Grizzled Young Vets. FTR had a fight on the ramp. So you knew that FTR wasn't going to win this match. And it gave them an out. But MXM Collection was in this match. There were a lot of good teams in this match. And it just so happened that Ospreay and Fletcher won. It was a great finish, the way that they pulled it off. They also did a 15-man pin breakup, which I thought was awesome, where everybody who wasn't going for the pin broke up the pin. I've never seen that before. That was pretty cool. Loved the match itself. Joshi, how do we feel about two singles guys winning this match, though? Not my favorite way of getting to this,
It's not, look, it's not my favorite way either, but there is a story there. We know that Don Callis is going to do something. He isn't someone that you can trust, and although Ospreay isn't part of Don Callis' family anymore, Fletcher is. So I think that match will be the end of Kyle Fletcher's affiliation with that faction. So I'm okay with it because of the story. But I would say after this match, they need to focus on the tag teams they actually have that are established. Like you said, I Blade Daily, Outrunners are so over right now. It would be a really good idea to have the Bucks wrestle them. And another tag team that comes to mind that's really over is MXM Collection. The fans respond to them very well. Also, my gosh, I even forgot about the Righteous. And when I saw them, come out, I was like, oh crap, yeah, there's another tag team, right? So,
I think the Righteous, though, got no reaction whatsoever.
That's the sad part.
They got buried by MJF last year when they lost that handicap match at WrestleDream. That wasn't a good
idea. Yeah.
That was a terrible idea.
That wasn't a good idea.
They had set them up with all these killer promos about the devil and all that stuff. And they were, if you go back and watch those promos, they literally told you everything about that story.
Oh my God, they did.
It was a spoiler, basically. And
and I remember when they were showing those videos, I thought they were really cool.
Well, I know, it wasn't specific to that devil storyline. They could have kept doing the paper people, let them do more of that. Yeah. That's how you rehabilitate them. But they have been in Nowheresville for a year now.
Yeah.
And they deserve so much better.
It's so unfortunate, man. I hate when this kind of thing happens because, like, look at us, right? When we talk about the tag team division, we forget about them. And that's sad. It's really sad because they're actually really cool guys. They wrestle very well, but they dropped the ball last year with that handicap match, and they didn't really give them much else to do after that. You know, you have to, at this point, you just really have to make sure that the tag team division improves and that you actually use the teams that are there, you know? So, as I said, I'm fine with the Young Bucks wrestling Fletcher and Ospreay at Grand Slam, but after that, it's really about facing teams they haven't faced, and these teams, I would like them to be established tag teams.
Yeah, and we need new matchups. We need
new matchups. I do like matchups. That. Yeah, I do like that FTR is feuding with the Grizzly Young Vets. I think that's really cool. But yeah, like just, you know, and maybe it's, I don't know, like when AEW first started, I think the Bucks were pretty heavily involved in the booking of the tag team division. I mean, I can't say for sure. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's one of those things where it should be up to them to book the division. I don't know. But something has to give, you know?
I would say I had posted this on Threads. Look, they had really avoided falling into this trap till like last year, where they didn't put people together and have them win the tag titles. The only exception had been Hangman and Kenny, and that had a very obvious plot point, and they held those titles for a long time. It wasn't like some dumb transition, you know, that lasted a month, right? But having, you know, dedicated tag teams dominating that division made it feel more valuable. And in the last year, they've kind of made this mistake where Tony's fallen into that WWE trope that everybody said they hated. You know, you have the Golden Jets where it's Kenny and Jericho. God,
I hated that.
And then you have Ricky and Big Bill.
Why?
And then you have Kyle and Ospreay. So I think what they're getting to here, I think we might in the short term get a turn where Kyle turns on Will and they wrestle for the international title at WrestleDream.
Oh, that'd be cool too.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'd
love that. I would love that. They could put on an incredible match, right? So I think that's where it's going. But I had posted on Threads, I don't think the tag team division is thin. It's that they're not featuring enough of the teams. And that gauntlet match really proved the point. And I will say, Joshi, to your credit, that somebody who commented on this post, who brought up something that you said months ago, was one Mr. Lance Storm, who said the trios division really thinned out the tag team division.
It did.
And somebody commented, his name's ZD Norris, their name's ZD Norris on Threads. And they said they thought a good idea would be make ROH the home of either tag teams or trios and make AEW the home of tag teams or trios. So merge the trios belts and have that defended in ROH, merge the tag titles and have those defended in AEW.
That's a really good idea.
I thought that was some really inspired thinking. ZD Norris, very, very smart way of thinking about this, because that way the trios titles, I always thought that would be for singles wrestlers to do something in between, right?
Yeah.
And they could change hands more often. I think the trap Tony is falling into is he's trying to make the trios titles like really prestigious. They don't need to be. They really don't. They could be the fun titles.
Not at the detriment of your tag team belts.
Well, right. And you've got these tag teams like the Guns, who are a really great team that are stuck in a trio right now. And why? Have Juice go after the TNT title, have Jay go after the world title, and have the Guns going after the tag titles. You know?
So just real quick, I Blade Daily, I thought Dynamite was a great show.
It was.
But I think we need to discuss this. This whole ordeal with the world title is very confusing. And listen, I know that Swerve is taking time off, But if he's not wrestling at WrestleDream in his hometown of Tacoma, that's a huge bummer. And
Well,
I invite you to share. I know you're going, and you're very close to the city, so I invite you to share your opinion. But I think this, like, let me put it this way: I don't want Moxley to win the belt again. So if at Grand Slam it happens where Moxley beats Darby and he gets the title shot at Full Gear at the WrestleDream, I'll be bummed because I'm pretty sure that's going to be Danielson's last match as a full-time wrestler. I mean, hopefully we're wrong and that's not the case, but I really don't think Moxley should be the one to end his reign. And as for Darby, I like the guy. I love Darby Allin. I don't think he's the right person to end Danielson's reign as champion either, though. I Blade Daily, go ahead. I know you have a lot to say.
yeah. I call this the death of a WrestleDream. Okay. So this is my fault. All right. I booked something in my mind that seemed like it was happening for sure.
It did at the time.
It seemed like Swerve was going to lose the title to Danielson at All In because WrestleDream was happening in his hometown of Tacoma and Danielson's home state of Washington. Danielson said, as soon as I lose this, I'm done as a full-time competitor. I know that they are trying to muddy the waters a little bit to make things surprising, okay? But here's the deal. I don't think Nigel's coming back from a 10-year layoff and beating Danielson.
No way.
Nigel's not winning this match, okay? He just can't. It's awesome that it's happening, but he's not winning. I'm a huge fan of Darby. I have no problem with him eventually being the world champion. But here's the thing. Swerve did not beat Hangman in the Texas Death Match and start getting those big cheers and then just win the world title.
No.
They did all this storytelling and building of his character. He almost won the world title a couple times, but didn't. Then he won the world title. There's been nothing like that for Darby. He just hasn't been shown to be at that level. He fucking lost to Jack Perry in a coffin match at All In.
2 weeks ago, man.
To the TNT champion who just lost to Danielson.
Yeah.
Okay?
No, it's true.
Meltzer's saying that Darby Allin was the guy who was going to beat Danielson in New York. I think Dave's on crack. Like, what are you talking about, Dave?
Hell no.
That doesn't make sense to me.
No.
Then, now Dave's saying the money match is Moxley versus Danielson. But here's the thing. John's a 3-time world champion. He doesn't really need the belt. I don't necessarily have a problem with him winning the belt, but do you really want Danielson's reign to end in this very dark, morose way?
No.
Where Moxley beats him and is standing over him and everybody feels bad that this guy just tried to murder this man, just beats him for the world title? That doesn't seem right to me, okay?
No, me neither.
And then finally you have Christian Cage. And look, everybody loves Christian. I love Christian. He's the best heel in the business in so many ways, okay? But I'm just going to say it right now. I hate the Money in the Bank, okay? I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
Me too.
The AEW feels like a bigger deal because people have to earn it. I hate this anytime, anywhere stipulation. I hate it. I hate the idea of people being able to just cash in. I hate the idea of copying anything WWE is doing. This is a horrible way for someone to become world champion. And to me, it was one of the things that diluted the prestige of the WWE world title was like when Big E cashed in and won the world title in 30 seconds. That's only a heel can really win that way and have it be productive. Like a babyface should never win that way. Christian you shouldn't have a 50-year-old guy winning the world title. I don't need Christian to be the AEW world champion. That's just my feeling about it, okay? And definitely not from a cash in. Fuck that. I don't want Adam Copeland to be the world champion.
No,
it was one thing when Jericho won it. It was one thing, okay? But I don't see any of these challengers as the credible guy to take that belt from Danielson. I feel like it has to be Swerve. I need him and Hangman to take a little break from each other. The point of Swerve winning the belt, I was okay with Swerve losing the belt to Danielson because I thought he'd be the one to win it back. But if it's not going to be Swerve in Tacoma, what are we doing? That just doesn't make sense to me. And it feels like things are getting shuffled around and like maybe they're deviating from a plan they had. Because clearly the plan was for Darby to wrestle Danielson at
Grand Slam.
At Grand Slam. And now it feels like they're messing with that whole arrangement.
Dude, I'm confused.
I'm very confused.
I'm confused. Like, look, I'm stoked for Danielson, Nigel, of course. But it's like, first, Moxley says Danielson's not going to wrestle at Grand Slam.
Right.
Like we had mentioned earlier. And then Nigel challenges him. Well, why did you guys say he wasn't going to wrestle? You know,
right.
And if he is going to wrestle there now, and if there's a possibility he will, then why isn't it Darby? Like, none of this makes sense. And I love AEW, I do, but I gotta call them out on things that aren't, are kind of like, what? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, I saw some people twisted themselves into pretzels trying to explain how it made sense. Like Moxley goaded Darby into this, like he was lying to Darby about him being indisposed. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I just don't think it's very good booking. Like, no, it's look, everybody books bad shit from time to time, and this just was sloppy to me. It didn't feel like great. It doesn't have to be the end of the world, but you got to call a spade a spade. Come on, guys. So anyway, it's hard for me to see how Swerve's going to challenge Danielson at this point at WrestleDream. I don't think he should come back and try to take vengeance on Hangman right away. He does, they have used the I didn't get my rematch thing so far a few times. Swerve is owed a rematch, obviously. You would think it would happen in Tacoma. And if they're trying to sell out the Tacoma Dome or trying to sell a bunch of tickets at least, you're going to need a marquee match that people want to see. I don't think it's Moxley and Danielson, and I'm not even sure that it's Darby and Danielson. The money match to me was Swerve and Danielson. We'll just have to see where this goes. Like I said, my fault for booking too far ahead in my own mind to a degree. But it seems like the most sensible thing at the same time.
But to your credit, iBlade Daily, the way you presented it made a lot of sense. That's why if it's not going this way, which it doesn't seem like it is, it's a real shame.
Yeah.
It's a real shame. I mean,
yeah.
We're just being honest here. We said that we're going to be critical of things that we find weird or confusing, and that's what we're doing. It just really sucks that there is a strong possibility that Swerve will not wrestle in his hometown. And, and if there are like personal reasons and things are going on, like I totally get it. And, I'll say, you know what?
Or if
family
he's injured.
and family, health, all that stuff comes first. Like I totally get it. But right now, all we know is he's taking time off. And our hope was that he would come back for the pay-per-view. And now that it doesn't seem that way, it just sucks.
Yeah.
It just sucks.
Well, and we'll see. He might might be a big Swerve, bro. So
Whose house?
We'll see. We'll see. Yeah. We can hope, right?
Yeah.
We can hope. But till next week, it's been an absolutely incredible time getting to sit down with my homie Joshi G to discuss all the haps from all the graps. That's right. I did that without planning it ahead because I am a fucking basic average level intelligence human being.
No, you're not. You're very smart.
Oh, thanks, Joshi. Thanks for lying to me.
It's not
all right, guys. All right. We love you guys. You are the absolute best. What do you think? Who is going to wrestle Bryan Danielson for this goddamn title at WrestleDream? Let us know in the comments. We want to know your thoughts. We will be back at it next week because we want to give out a special tribute to someone very near and dear to our hearts, and you'll find out who that is sometime very soon. But until then, I'm Blade Daly.
I'm Joshi G. Sit down and shut up.
And until next time, pro wrestling forever.